On this episode of Where's the Line, me and Joseph are going to recap Tennessee and Vanderbilt's game from this past Saturday and look ahead at Vanderbilt's game and Tennessee going into the bye week. We've got gambling picks towards the end, but this is episode number 100. Thank you guys so much for listening, commenting, liking, all the things that you do. Me and Joseph greatly appreciate all of it. But without further ado, this is episode number 100 of Where's the Line? Let's get into it.
You are now listening to the Where's the Line podcast with Joseph West and Britt Dillard. Enjoy the show.
Milton gonna take a shot wide open and just strutting in is Keaton. Joe Milton does it again.
Orgy again on a blitz. Levis pocket collapses. He's on the run. He just heaves it up. And it's intercepted by Vanderbilt. And let the celebration begin. The streak is over at 26. The Commodores win it.
Talk about Vanderbilt football.
Deep right, and Tennessee walks it off. Pandemonium in Knoxville. Center field, DeMarco. There to make the catch. Anchored down. Vanderbilt on top of the college baseball world again.
That's all I gotta say, and you're going to hell. Bye.
Another edition of Where's the Line? It is Tuesday, October 3rd, episode 100. My name is Britt Dillard. I'm joined here by Joseph West. It's the 100th day of school, Joseph. How are you feeling?
I'm feeling good. It is the 100th day of school. Thank everybody for listening. It's episode 100. Britt, this started with a text message from me saying we could actually start a podcast after we had a very unserious discussion about a podcast. And so I just looked at buying us some mics, about $115 each. Next thing I knew, Venmo hit my account, $115 from Britt Dillard. And he said, buy them then. Bought two of them. And 100 episodes later, here we are. Thank you, everybody. We appreciate you. We wouldn't have keep doing it if we didn't think some people enjoyed it. So thank y'all, Britt.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks, everybody, for listening. It is nice to know that somebody is out there in the void that it seems that we're speaking to and is getting something out of this content. So it is cool. It is fun. I look forward to doing it almost every week. And it's just awesome. It's a good thing.
It is awesome. Also, we are trying to boost our listeners, right? Right now, this college football season, we've got about 68, 69, 70 of you listening on a weekly basis. Let's bump that 10 up. Let's get 10 more. Let's go 80. Let's say we start averaging 80.
Yeah, have some babies. Make them listen.
Come on, yeah. Give me some Where's the Line devoted followers, okay? So let's try to get up to 80. We were sitting around 75 last year during football season. So come on, it's episode 100. Put us out there. If you notice, right off the bat, you're like, why are these two idiots wearing sunglasses? Let me tell you, episode 100 is strictly business. I'm going to have some takes on Tennessee. I'm going to have some takes around the country. And I'm going to have some takes just about several things that probably people are not going to agree with. But let me tell you this. This weekend, I've done some things. I've reflected on what I've said. I've reflected on this podcast. I've reflected on life. All the emotions out of it, we're only here about business now.
Strictly business, especially if you're in the SEC. If you root for a team in the SEC, it's anybody's conference.
Strictly business, baby.
There's 5 or 6 teams that could win the SEC this year, which is awesome. I mean, if you've been calling for more parity in college football, I mean, this year there's not really been that one team that you can say for sure sticks out. Yeah, Georgia looks really good. Yeah, Michigan looks really good. We're going to keep assuming that until we don't see it, but both of those teams have yet to really prove it. It's wide open. It's anybody's game.
It is wide open. And if you recall offseason last year, me and Britt talked about NIL. And I said NIL was either going to do two things. It was going to make the monopoly that we currently had worse, and you were going to see the same four teams win national championships every year. It was going to be Ohio State, Alabama, Georgia. It was going to be those guys for a long time. Or it would go bananas. It would be more similar to the NFL, where although in the NFL all 32 teams could really win it, you can't say that in college football. Not every team has a chance to win it, but there's going to be a lot more of an open field than I think we're used to. And I think you're seeing a small sample size of that just in the SEC right now.
Yeah, it's exciting, especially in the East. Although I think the West is wide open too, but in the East you've seen some teams emerge that haven't exactly been the best over the past decade that are starting to show some promise. And what's exciting is you still got half the season or a little bit more left to go, and we're going to get to watch how it all plays out. I think it was like the next 52 days there's a football game on of some kind.
That's amazing.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome.
Let's stay right there for a second, Britt. I will ask you a question. Did all Kentucky need to actually be good was for me to say they weren't going to be? Because I kind of predicted this team to be good the last 2 years of this podcast, and they've underachieved for me. This year I said they weren't going to be good. They were going to barely win 6 games, and they looks like they're going to overachieve that goal. So I think I either predicted them at 6-6 or 7-5. I can't remember. Regardless, I think it looks like they're going to exceed both.
Yeah, so, it looks like a year where Kentucky's going to have another solid season. I mean, Mark Stoops has done a great job there. And I mean, I'm sure on all Kentucky fans' minds, it's getting over the hump. It's competing with Georgia. It's trying to compete in the SEC championship. I don't know if we'll see it yet. They had a strong showing on Saturday against Florida, a team that I don't think is very good. But I mean, they're 5-0. They're right there with Missouri at 5-0. They've still got a lot to prove for me, but it's definitely not a gimme game for Tennessee coming up in a few weeks at all.
No, I don't think so either. I think that when I think about Missouri, and a lot of people forget this, but Missouri's been to an SEC championship before. Like, I watched Missouri play in the SEC championship game, and I assume Britt watched that game as well. I think that was 2013, the 2013 season, or maybe the 2012 season. It was one of those 100%.
I think both.
Maybe both. Maybe they did go back to back in the SEC title game. But I kind of remember, like, just when you're really starting, you're at that age, 10, 11, 12, 13, when you really start getting invested in your team. And I remember Missouri being pretty good. But Kentucky, obviously, if they were to win the SEC East, that would just flip the SEC on its head, honestly. They've never won the SEC East, correct, Britt? Definitely not since we've been alive, and they sucked before that. I wouldn't think so.
No, I don't think so.
I don't think they have either. So Kentucky's never won it, and it would just be crazy. But yeah, honestly, enough about them. Let's get straight into it. Tennessee played South Carolina this past Saturday. It was a pretty good game, I guess you could probably say, in the first half. It was 24-10 at halftime. Britt was obviously in attendance in England. Britt, what was the early thoughts? How were you feeling, let's say, first quarter when it was 14-10?
Yeah, I was there in X5. What I'll say to start off is Neyland Stadium was awesome. The game day experience is as good as it's ever been that I've seen, anyways, in Knoxville. It's just a show. It's just really, Danny White has done a great job of providing a good game day experience. But coming into the game, I think we were all pretty confident, but kind of wishy-washy. Spencer Rattler coming in, who's had a great season thus far, and he has good weapons around him. We knew that his offensive line was kind of shaky, but he's able to make things work, getting out of the pocket, and that kind of worried me. Our defensive ability to contain him, and in the first half, we started fast, which is what I like to see. Defense gave up a few points, but Kamal Hadden had a big pick six there at right before halftime, and man, that place was rocking. It was rocking. So It was really we were vibing all night, really. From the jump, it was just awesome. I thought the defense really just performed so well. And I've got some takeaways. I don't really want to steal their thunder, but getting Cooper Mays back made a huge difference on offense. So overall, I'm not absolutely thrilled coming out of this game, but this is the kind of game that we needed to see from Tennessee and from Tennessee's defense and from Joe Milton as well.
I agree. I can't say that I predicted this game 100% correct or anything, but I did say I would take Tennessee minus the 12.5. Britt, we differed on that take. Britt said he liked South Carolina. And it was one of those things where I just said, look, normally UT wins this game and they win it by more than they're supposed to. They did. I thought Tennessee overall looked pretty good. Specifically on offense, I personally felt like this was the best offensive game they had played all year. Whether the numbers actually support that, just me watching it, that was how I felt. One thing is for sure, the only thing I'll say about South Carolina basically this whole time is that their offensive line might be worse than Vanderbilt. It might be the worst in the SECs, is my point. It is that bad. They cannot protect Spencer Rattler. When he had time, he didn't look bad. But just looking at the box score, Tennessee had 477 total yards to South Carolina's 333. South Carolina was 2 for 14 on third downs. That is terrible. You're not winning any games going 2 for 14 on third downs. You're not. That's pitiful from South Carolina. On Tennessee, though, on their part, 7 for 15 on third down efficiency. You're okay. They went 1 for 1 on fourth downs. They only punted 3 times. They had 2 turnovers, and it didn't matter.
No, yeah, 2 interceptions from Joe Milton. One was pretty bad. I don't think he really saw the safety over the middle. I think that he described it as they did some things that they didn't really prepare for, and he just didn't really expect that guy to be there. And the other one, borderline on the tight end there. But I thought Joe Milton had a good enough game. I think if Joe Milton plays that game every single week and clean up the interceptions, I think we have a good shot to win. And when your defense plays the way they do, I feel like we have a very good shot to win. But Tennessee has really got their identity, I feel like, 5 games in. And that identity is your defense is going to have to make stops, more stops than we needed them to last year. And you're going to have to run the ball. The run game is so important in this offense. And with Cooper Mays back, I think I am a lot more comfortable with that. But if you look at Tennessee's running backs, Jalen Wright, he's averaging 7.1 yards a carry on 61 carries. Jabari Small, 6 yards a carry, 53 carries. Dylan Sampson, 6.9 on 36 carries. We've been able to run the ball efficiently, but our offensive line hasn't even been at full strength. So I think Tennessee did find their best 5 offensive linemen this week with Mays back. You were able to slide Ollie Lane back to left guard. Campbell and Mincy are your tackles, and you got Spraggins at right guard. That's the rotation we're going to need to see, and not even rotation because we're not going to rotate. Those 5 guys are just going to be our guys. So Tennessee establishing the run early, and not only just executing well, but Cooper Mays. It's like whenever the ball is down, Cooper Mays knows where they're going to where they're going to place the ball. Cooper Mays knows he has so much knowledge of the game that we have missed out on that just made the offense, who was already this year still the fastest in the country in plays per minute or whatever statistic it is. It just made it seem that much smoother and that much faster, which was very, very awesome to see.
Yeah, I think that, first of all, one of my big points was getting Cooper Mays back was huge. He is a huge bolster of the offensive line. You can get the guys in the correct places. You don't have to plug and play anymore. So that's huge for Tennessee. I will also say Britt kind of stole my thunder. I was going to talk about the running game and how if Tennessee against South Carolina had 238 rushing yards, when Tennessee has 238 rushing yards, they're going to win a lot of their games. And that's kind of just how it is when I look at this team. I think if they have 238 rushing yards, Joe Milton's good enough to throw for a 250 with no picks and 2 touchdowns if needed. So I do like that, Britt.
Yeah, Josh Heupel, just quick stat here. Josh Heupel is 45-6 as a head coach when his offense rushes for at least 150 yards in a game.
Yeah.
45-6.
I was going to point back to the Florida game. Tennessee only had 100 rushing yards in that Florida game. They could not run the ball. So when I pointed that game to just to show that I think running the ball for 200 plus yards is going to be really important to this team. But I also think it's very plausible. I think it is doable. Like, I'm not saying it's a far stretch. Tennessee can rush the ball for 200 yards with just about every one of their opponents left. You may argue Georgia, and I would say the same. But outside of them, they could just about win every other game.
Yeah, I mean, your whole season is right there in front of you. And 9-3, 10-2, 11-1. In some universes, it's there. Now we're going to see how it all plays out. Especially you're going into a bye week this week, but down the road you've got Alabama, Missouri, and Kentucky on the road, and those are games that I do not look forward to playing in. But just looking at this game, your defensive line really showed out. And I mean, South Carolina's left tackle may be the worst SEC lineman I've ever seen run out there. I mean, he is going to see James Pierce and Tyler Barron in his nightmares for the rest of the season. But your defensive line showed out. You're able to get Elijah Simmons, the JYD, back in the rotation there, which was awesome. Your linebackers played well. Arian Carter came in and did a great job. Rodney Garner, you've got to write him a blank check this offseason. You have to keep Rodney Garner there. Just the depth and the coaching and just the progression that his unit on the defensive line has made is awesome. It's so awesome to see. I mean, you're still right up there in the top 5 in the nation in sacks and tackles for loss, which is what Tennessee needs, that since their secondary is not exactly where you need it to be. And I'm just going to keep talking here. Kamal Hadden had himself a game. He absolutely locked down South Carolina's number 1 receiver. I don't know if it's Leggett or Leggett. I've heard it both ways. Leading the nation, or I don't know if it was the nation or the SEC in receiving yards coming in. Probably the
I know
SEC.
the SEC.
Held him to 1 catch. Kamal Hadden on the year, he's got a coverage grade. This is all PFF of 86. That's good for 10th nationally, number 3 in the SEC. This is Kamal Hadden we're talking about. Yeah. I just want you to think back at how we've talked about Kamal Hadden.
I will say Kamal Hadden's got the blunting of the stick here several times, but also, and people forget this, and it's even in the NFL, and it goes into how PFF grades are done and why people get aggravated with them. But here's my point: is that corners look really good when offensive lines are getting ate up by the D line. Like, I can look good as a corner if I've got Micah Pearson's getting to the quarterback in 3 seconds, because I know, hey, he's going to get there quick. I just got to hold up to 12 yards or whatever I can, make my time to. And once those guys get going on the D line, and especially when you're facing a very shaky offensive line in South Carolina, you start biting on routes. You start playing closer. You start getting up and press, of course, if the coaches are allowing you to. I'm not saying all that to say I don't think Kamal Hadden is good, or that first of all, I don't think he's good. So I'm definitely not saying that he is. But I'm saying I'm not trying to take away from him, but that does matter. That is a huge stat that cornerbacks get to either benefit or really, because some corners can be good but just look bad because the offense has all day to throw.
Yeah. And that's one thing in the Florida game, the Tennessee-Florida game, we didn't play aggressive like we did against South Carolina. We played a lot of zone. We rushed 3 men a lot, and we didn't help out our secondary much. But even not just in this game, but Kamal Hadden, for the whole year, he's got 26 targets. He's allowed 10 receptions. That's for 38.5%. He's allowed 26 yards all year. 5 pass breakups, 2 interceptions. I mean, that's as good as you can ask for from your number 1 cornerback, in my opinion, especially in this Tennessee defense. That's as good as you can ask for. So hats off to him. He got booed when we were announcing lineups. He got booed, which is crazy to boo your own teammate. No matter, I don't care if Osama bin Laden's starting at linebacker for Tennessee. I'm not going to boo him.
But hats off. The wide receiver position all of a sudden is very thin.
Okay, I don't know. I do not know what happened to your voice, but you sound like Vader.
Okay, the wide receiver position all of a sudden is very thin. You had Brew McCoy go down in just a very ugly season-ending injury, which really sucks. Is my
I'm
voice messing up?
I'm not laughing. I'm not laughing at Brew McCoy injury. I'm so
Why are
sorry.
you laughing at Brew McCoy?
Did you not hear me say you sound like Vader?
Do I still sound like Vader?
Yeah, you sound just like Darth Vader right now.
Okay, give me 1 second.
Technical difficulties here. I got it. Brew McCoy, he did have a very nasty injury. Poor Brew, his leg looked absolutely just gruesome. It's probably a good word to describe it. It honestly is a tough break for that guy. I mean, was hoping to go to the draft, and it sucks to see somebody get hurt like that.
Did I at least sound cool?
You did sound
Like
cool. You're back.
Okay, yeah. I mean, Bruce I think he's got a year left that he can come back. But man, he's your most reliable receiver at this point, in my opinion. And then Dante Thornton didn't dress out Saturday, so you were out there with redshirt freshmen, taking the majority of the load for Brew McCoy. But yeah, getting Squirrel White involved early is something that I wanted to see that I don't think I mentioned on this podcast, but I was saying this on the drive to the game. Squirrel White is open every play. He is so quick and elusive and just small. I feel he's open on almost every single play. So getting him involved in the run game, the deep pass game, and in the screen game, I very much enjoyed seeing that. I thought Josh Heupel coached a much better game. Tim Banks, I said last week, was coaching for his job, and I thought he did a great job. So overall, I'd say a B plus, A minus performance, just for the team as a whole going into the bye week.
Yeah, I think that's a very solid observation from Britt. When I look at this performance, I would also say it was a much better performance from UT. I think you're going to see a lot of where UT's defense is at when you see them play Kentucky, who's talented up front. When you see them play Missouri, another talented team up front. No slack to Spencer Rattler at all, but a lot of just absolute crapping on his O-line with how bad they are. Regardless, I think they're going to have a interesting road to end their season with the schedule they have lined up. I think if you're a UT fan, you have to be excited. The SEC's a mess, and Britt said it as soon as we got on this podcast. Anybody can win it. So let's see who it is.
Yeah, for sure. Just going into the bye week, try to get healthy, get some rest. I think Tennessee got a pretty favorable bye week with Texas A&M coming in, a very winnable game at home. But then I mentioned the Kentucky, Missouri, and Alabama games on the road. I don't have much faith in us on the road, and I don't know if that's me overthinking it, but like if you look at Texas against Alabama, they beat them just throwing downfield the whole game, and that's something that Josh Heupel hasn't shown that he's willing to do. And I don't want to get too far ahead of it, but there are a lot of concerns from me against Alabama and those middle of the pack East teams with Missouri and Kentucky that are making improvements, playing them on the road. We're going to see how good this Tennessee team is. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, and people, I never considered Missouri a very scary place to play, and I still wouldn't consider it scary. But the atmosphere they had for that Georgia game last year was insane. Total sellout. It was loud as hell on ESPN. Like, I was just very impressed with Missouri's, I guess, atmosphere that you wouldn't expect from, let's be honest, Missouri.
Yeah, and I mean, and all three of those teams that I mentioned, they're looking for their get back this year against Tennessee. I mean, we've just walked the dog on Kentucky and Missouri. We've scored over 60 points against Missouri the last 2 years. And then obviously Alabama was our Super Bowl last year, not South Carolina this year. So you know that they want to beat us in Tuscaloosa. So we got a tough road ahead, but that's just playing in the SEC.
Shout out for the Super Bowl comments, by the way. That is everyone's favorite thing to do now, and I actually really enjoy it because both fan bases get mad, and I think it's funny.
Yeah, that's the ultimate hope, to say that you were somebody's Super Bowl. I mean, I'm not going to sit here. I mean, Tennessee's been saying that about Vanderbilt every time they've lost to them.
That's true.
But I mean, Shane Beamer and Spencer Rattler losing the way they did is nice. Just two losers, honestly. So that was fun. That was a big part of the fun Saturday. Is you're whipping up on Shane Beamer, who's a loser, who might win 7 games this year. Might.
Brett, certified hater.
Yeah, I don't like Shane Beamer. I think he's kind of a prick.
Well, there it is. UT breakdown.
That's it.
Or recap, sorry. UT recap. We done. UT 41-20. Bye week up next. And then A&M in Neyland. Moving forward, we've got my Vanderbilt Commodores. We took on the Missouri Tigers this weekend at First Bank Stadium. It was fun, I guess. Final score was 38-21, Missouri. I predicted 35-21 on this podcast. So I would say overall, but a solid prediction there. Big story of this game was Ken Seals. Ken Seals started at quarterback for Vanderbilt. He played a pretty good game. His very first touchdown drive, I thought showed the veteran that he is, who he is as a leader. I thought this offense was going to look honestly better than it did. After that one drive where they really got it going, Ken Seals rushed in a touchdown on that drive. Through the air, Ken Seals went 20 of 31 for 259 yards passing, 2 touchdowns and a pick. His pick was bad, but listen, I couldn't be more happy for a guy than I was for Ken Seals on Saturday. I was screaming his name. I was cheering for him every chance I got, hoping he would do something crazy. He threw a great long touchdown pass to Junior Sherrill. It was just, he deserved it. And that's really going to be the only positive early thoughts that I have, is that Ken Seals deserved to start this game. I was really happy that he did, and I was happy that he had an overall pretty good performance and really good if you take out that pick.
Yeah, Vandy drops their 4th straight, their second SEC game. Brady Cook looked like what Brady Cook is in my head. Just watching him in Neyland Stadium last year, I was very impressed with him. And this week, and I guess just kind of hearing from Skeeter last week and from people I've seen on Twitter, they weren't exactly sold on Brady Cook yet. They didn't know if this was his team or if they were supposed to move on to some younger guys, but I think he really solidified himself there. On the Vanderbilt side, Will Shepherd had a good game, 98 yards and a touchdown. Just outmatched, I'm afraid. But I want to hear your thoughts more, because your thoughts mean a lot more than my thoughts on this game.
Brady Cook, for the record, to comment Britt. Britt didn't honestly. He praised Brady Cook right there. He didn't praise him enough. Brady Cook went 33 of 41 for 395 yards passing and 4 touchdowns. That is him 340 yards plus for the 3rd straight game. He has thrown for more than 340 yards. That is very impressive. It is not against cupcakes. It's not like he's been playing FCS teams. No. He played Kansas State and 2 SEC opponents. That's who he's played, and they've lit them all up. Brady Cook, very good. There's so many things you can get into this game. I had a lot of first of all, my voice made it on the TV broadcast. I got it sent to me, and I fumbled and didn't save it, and they didn't save it, and we fumbled, and I would have loved to play the recording. You basically just heard me telling our offensive coordinator that he sucked. I just said, Joey Lynch, you suck. Walter Taylor for 1 play? And
you were on the TV broadcast?
You could hear me through the TV broadcast, yes. You heard my voice. You couldn't exactly tell, like, that it was me, but, like, if Britt Dillard's watching the game, you know that's me. Just because
I would have went crazy. I would have went crazy.
And so dude said, I literally just heard you scream at the OC and say, let's go Walter Taylor. And I said, that's exactly what I said. That was me. And so my point was, I would have loved to have that clip so we could have played it. Sadly, I don't. Listen, I look at this team. This team is outmatched to an extent. Britt is not wrong. This team doesn't have talent at some positions, but here's the thing. I want everyone to look around the country, and when you do, I want you to look at the upsets. I want you to look at worse teams beating teams that are much better than them. I want you to look at the talent on the rosters. For example, Wake Forest being 73 on 247 composite as of 2023 and Vanderbilt being 58. I want you to look at when you're losing games like that, it's not just about the talent. It's something deeper. First of all, I don't believe that Vanderbilt has a leader in their locker room as far as player. I think that's a problem. What up, Rizzo? I think that Vanderbilt's coaching is not that good. I think Vanderbilt's coaching is lackluster at best. They don't improve the players, and they may make the players worse at times. Joey Lynch has to go. Nick Howell has to go. Dan Jackson has to go. All these guys have to go. They're not good coaches. And guess what? Clark Lea has to go. See ya. Bye. He cannot win me back. I made up my mind as of as of Sunday. He cannot win me back. It does not matter. I don't care if we win out. I don't care if he's going to beat UT the next 25 years in a row. He cannot win me back. You're done, Clark. In my mind, you're done. The only way possible that he wins me back, the only way, he goes to the offseason, he fires his 2 coordinators, he cleans up some other position coaches, he hires young guys, and Vanderbilt wins 7 games next year. But I want you to go look at Vanderbilt's schedule and tell me the 7 wins, because you're going to be like, Joseph, 7's hard, and I'm going to reply, I know it is. I think 6 would be damn near impressive, but you have to be 7 just to show me that he could do it. And I don't believe in him. This coaching staff they're just not it. It's frustrating. It's lazy football. It's bland play calling. It's non-aggressive play calls. It's sad. It's just sad. Yeah, I mean, I give my all to this program. I will continue to give my all for these players. I will continue the support for guys like Will Shepp, for guys like Ken Seals that deserve it. But after this year, get the soft dudes out. Force them to transfer. I've always been against that. Force them to go. Just straight up tell them, you're not good. We need scholarship options. And hire somebody young who might actually be innovative and do something fun with this offense.
Yeah, Dion
DeVander. You're going to have the weapons.
Yeah, I listen to John Reed, Fox Sports Knoxville, almost every day, and he said before the game Saturday, he was saying if Tennessee loses against South Carolina, somebody's got to get fired, whether that's Willie Martinez, whether that's Tim Banks, just to show that this is not okay. You've got to fire somebody, and I think that's almost the same way, or I think it is the same way with Vanderbilt. Like the continued, like you say, the coaches make the players worse. Like you can't have that. And if you're the head coach, and as Butch Jones would say, you're the caretaker of the university, you've got to show that it's not okay to get beat by Missouri and Kentucky at home. Like that's not cool. That's not where we're trying to be. That's not where we're trying to go. So we've got to make changes to fix that. Nothing changes if nothing changes.
Very true. It's one of those things for me. I think Clark is too much of a nice guy. I think he's such a gentleman that he's like, I'm not going to embarrass someone by firing them midseason. And I think that will ultimately be his downfall and why he will not succeed at Vanderbilt. He's too nice. He doesn't have the fire. Clark Lea, though, I will say this, had me ready to die for him. I was ready to die for him on Saturday. Vanderbilt got 2 of the worst calls on the same drive that I've ever seen. They called a targeting pass interference on the same call combo, and it was one of the worst calls I'd ever seen in my whole entire life. And it was so bad that people on Twitter that I barely know, that just know me through Twitter, were texting me and be like, dude, that was terrible. That was really bad, Joseph. That really could only happen to Vandy. I was like, dude, trust me, I know. I've seen this movie before. This is not the first time. It was terrible. The reason I wanted to touch on it is because Clark Lea got pissed. Clark Lea started screaming at the ref. He touched him. He touched him with his finger, was pointing at him, took his headset off, threw it 30 yards down the sideline, takes his play sheet off, throws it. Dude was pissed. He was showing everybody that he cared, that he was not going to get pushed around, and it worked. The refs gave us some calls after that. It just goes to show you, at Vanderbilt, you can't just get respect. You have to demand it. That's why Franklin was great at Vandy. He demanded the other teams respect him and the refs respect him. Because Vanderbilt does not get SEC treatment. We don't. We don't get that. They picked up a late hit out of bounds when both of our guys, like our dude, both of his feet were out of bounds. We got hit by a Missouri player, and they didn't. They just picked. They threw the flag and then picked it up. That does not happen to other SEC teams. It doesn't. Other SEC teams can say yes. I'm gonna say not like this though. Like I get other teams have seen flags picked up, but not like that. Not that blatant. Not that bad. You have to demand it. I don't think Clark can do it. I'll be interested to see what Britt says. I didn't tell him I was off the Clark train yet. But yeah, I am. I think it's in 2025, the stadium will be done. You'll be coming off a really hard schedule. We should have a favorable 25 schedule in the SEC because you're playing LSU, Texas, and Bama all in 24. It can't be that bad. And you're playing at Auburn. You're going to get Arkansas. You'll probably get Ole Miss. And then, who cares really who you get of the East teams? I'm fine with any of them, honestly. None of them are that levels and levels ahead. But just anyways, my point was 2025 new stadium. Clark's coming back next year no matter what. It doesn't matter. So 2025 new head coach, new stadium. It's my first glimmer of hope. My eyes are set for 2025. Fast forward me there.
Yeah, I feel like you're my friend who's been dating a girl who I'm not really sure about, and you finally realize that she's a not good lady, I'll say, for our children listening. You're in a spot that we're both familiar with, and it's not a good spot to be in, where you realize that it's not going to work, yet you know that the administration is still going to hold on to hope because they don't want to look like they made a stupid choice, which is understandable. But I think when you know, if your coach hasn't shown you something in year 3 to make you believe that there is constant momentum forward, I think it's time to go. And that's a place where Tennessee fans were in 2016 when you lose to a South Carolina team with a 17-year-old quarterback and a Vanderbilt team that you had no business losing to. You know when it's time to move on. But you also know that it's going to be a minute.
Clark is a great human. I think he is a good football coach. I just don't think he's built to be one at Vandy, and that's me being truthful. There's nothing wrong with saying that. I don't think. Clark is he's just ultimately, I think he's just too nice. I think you need a lunatic to coach Vanderbilt, and I think James Franklin is a lunatic, for the record. I think you need someone a little mentally unstable. I think that's what it takes. It takes a guy that you're kind of scared of when he gets angry, when the dude gets mad. You're kind of scared of him. And other teams are kind of scared of his team just by the way that they play. They follow him. They play gritty. And, people are talking about well, you got to give Clark time. Look around the country. Look at Dave Clawson. Look at Mark Stoops, what they did. And there's some truth. There's some truth to it. Dabo's another good point. Look around the country. There's a lot of good points, but I just think for me, that in year 3, losing to UNLV is unacceptable. Being worse than I expected is unacceptable. And you can't go backwards, and you're going to. And for those reasons, I feel like I'm on Shark Tank, and for those reasons, I'm out.
Now, I love a good coaching search, as good as anybody.
Yeah. Also, speaking of coaching searches, Vanderbilt's last coaching search. We almost hired Jamie Chadwell, and that still haunts me to this day that we didn't. There was I will not release any crazy information, but within Vanderbilt's hiring, hiring room that day, the group of members that were in there, they heavily disagreed on who to hire. And obviously the side of Clark Lea ended up winning. But where we could be, I like to dream of what a world would have looked like as Jamie Chadwell.
Yeah, it's nice to have a handsome coach. Now Tennessee doesn't have a handsome coach.
No.
But if they suck, it's better for them to at least look good on the
Yes.
sideline. And speaking of looking good, what about Taylor Swift? She's kind of taken over the NFL.
Listen, we don't care about Taylor Swift on this podcast.
I do.
We're not gonna bombard our listeners with more Taylor Swift content.
Those who know me know that I'm a Swiftie. Those
That
who
is
know
true.
those who know me deep down know that, and that's kind of a recent discovery that I've made.
I will say something else about the Vanderbilt game.
Okay,
Listen,
go ahead.
Britt said something earlier about Squirrel White, and I did not want to forget this, so I'm glad I remembered that Squirrel White is open on almost every play. And while I don't know if Britt was being dead serious or if he was just trying to say how great his speed and elusiveness and how agile he was and just how important it is. I agree with him to an extent of when you have a guy like that, he's always open because there's so many play calls you can get. Wide receiver screen, a little swing route, line him up in the backfield, an actual screen to him because he's little enough to catch one, similar to Jaden McGowan for Vanderbilt. We do that with it. Well, we line him up in the backfield. We haven't thrown a screen pass to him yet. My point is going to be this. When I look at Vanderbilt's box score against Missouri and I see that Will Sheppard had 8 targets, Jaden McGowan had 1 target, Junior Sherrill had 4 targets, Quincy Skinner had 3. But when I look at 8 targets for Will Sheppard and 1 for McGowan, so between the two, 9 targets between those two guys is unacceptable from a play caller. I don't care if you're having to throw them 18 swing routes or if you're just telling your quarterback, throw it up to them. If they're one-on-one, tell them to go get it. But the fact that they only have 9 targets is absolutely unacceptable. Will Sheppard is unstoppable one-on-one, and Jaden McGowan has elite speed similar to Squirrel White and similar body style. It's ridiculous. It's pitiful. It's just not good play calling. It's just not good coaches. And if I see Nick Howell send another delayed blitz from the long side of the field, I'm gonna start threatening him. I'm gonna be mentally unstable. I will start threatening him and his well-being.
You're getting borderline violent.
Violence is on the menu. Enough about Vanderbilt, Missouri. That game's over. Like I said, final score was 38-21 in Nashville. Vanderbilt travels to the Swamp this weekend. Opened up as 19.5-point underdogs in the Swamp. We'll be taking on Billy Napier's Florida Gators, coming off a drumming 44-14 against the Kentucky Wildcats. Britt, early look at this game. 2 teams who are down bad right now. What do you think? 33-14, by the way, not 44. I apologize. 33-14 against Kentucky.
Coming from a team who lost to Florida in the Swamp, I truly believe that was just mental. I truly believe that Florida just has a mental stronghold on Tennessee, and that played a big part of that game. I don't think Florida's good. And I've said that all year. I picked them to finish last in the East. I don't think they're a good team. I don't think they're coached especially well. They just don't really excite me. The Swamp adds another kind of wrinkle to it. But
we get the 11 a.m. Swamp. That's good.
Yeah, no, that's definitely an advantage. But I don't think any SEC team other than Tennessee should be scared of Florida.
That's fair. I actually might agree.
That's my opening look. I just don't think I don't like Florida. It's embarrassing that Tennessee lost to them in the way that they did. And I think that if you played that game 10 times at the Swamp, Tennessee may win it once. I think if you played it 10 times at home, I think Tennessee wins it 10 times. It's frustrating, but if you're Vanderbilt, I mean, how do you feel? Do you feel like this is a get back game for Clark Lea, that he needs to come in and beat Florida, which would be for the second consecutive time, or do you feel like all hope is lost? Where's your meter at?
This team. I said on Saturday, someone asked me. I was sitting with Mr. Trevor Hewlin. It is Trevor Hewlin. You may know him as Hack Squat Jim Duggan if you are on Twitter. I was sitting with him, and everyone knows, if you know anything about Trevor or listen to the Door Report ever, If you are a Vanderbilt fan, shout out Door Report. They are a great podcast. But Trevor, everybody always asks him how the vibes are, and one of the guys asked me, he was like, "Hey, how are your vibes?" I was like, "Shot in the head. This team is shot. This team is dead. They're dead. They don't have anything left to give. There's no wrinkles in the playbook. They don't have an extra page they've been hiding. They've showed their hand, and it's just bad. We've seen the flop. We got no cards. We got nothing. I don't love this game. Obviously, I mean, we're playing Florida. We're in the swamp. It's sad. I don't know who's going to start at quarterback. I think it's going to be AJ Swan, but that's just me guessing. Listen, Florida's has gotten gashed for the run, except when they play Tennessee. Vanderbilt's had no run game. I don't really know if that changes. This game is just, to answer Britt's question, this is definitely a get back game for this coaching staff. I think they know they have to make this game competitive. Because if they don't, I think the people who aren't calling for heads already are soft. They're losers. They're losers. If you're not calling for heads after losses to UNLV and Wake Forest as an SEC program, you're a loser. I'm here to tell you that. And one of the guys on Twitter told me he was going to listen to my podcast this week so he could tell me I was stupid. And I'm so happy. I hope he's listening. If you are, Sunshine Pumper, you're an idiot. There you go.
Yeah. So for Tennessee fans, there were some games like 2015 Arkansas, 2016 Georgia, games that you either lost or shouldn't have won and did, that you were like, man, if Butch won that game and it gave him some good graces and it kind of extended his lifespan at Tennessee. Are you at the point yet where you love Vanderbilt so much that you are so committed to Clark losing that you want to see him lose so he can get fired?
I found myself asking that on Saturday. I could never say I want to see my team lose. But I'm at the point where I don't expect to win. And I think those are different. I just don't think Vanderbilt can win a game left on their schedule. I think Vanderbilt goes 2-10, and that's frustrating because this is what you do. When you come out, the reason that I'm so freaking pissed about what this is because you make people who are lazy look so good. People who knew nothing about Vanderbilt just seen the V and said 2-10, 3-9. They didn't know all the talent that you were returning. They didn't know that you had real SEC guys on both sides of the ball at certain positions. They didn't know. But you make them look good because you just, some of it's laziness, some of it's that some of the guys are soft, and it's frustrating. And I think that's what makes me even more mad when I think about it like that.
That makes sense.
I mean, nothing in this game, like, I look at and I'm like, man, yeah, Vanderbilt can take advantage. It's just, that's the sad part. Florida is giving up 276 rushing yards a game. That's good. Maybe Vanderbilt can get their running game going. If Vanderbilt ran for 150 yards, I wouldn't even know what to do. I literally wouldn't because we haven't seen it. If Vanderbilt could have like a big game from Seti or Patrick Smith, two guys who are electric who could break some runs, some long runs off, you might be able to see this game stay close. First of all, I'm scared to death of 19.5 in this game. I think that's way too many. I will not lie. I think that's way too. I think Vanderbilt covers, and I'd rather shoot myself in the head than bet on Vanderbilt again. So I'm not doing it. But my early take on this game was, holy crap, 19.5 is a big thing to open on Sunday morning. Bad news is, also, I am so sorry. They're giving up 276 yards of total offense, not rushing. I'm so sorry. I read that stat wrong. They're only giving up 131 yards of rushing offense per game. I'm stupid. I just can't read. Meanwhile, Vanderbilt's defense is great. They're giving up 408 total yards per game, 261 passing, 150 almost rushing. Vanderbilt's defense is really freaking bad, in case you can't tell. There's nothing positive to say about this team right now. AJ Swan got benched last week. Just calling it what it is. He got benched. His injury literally doesn't exist. They covered that up, I think. But regardless, I hope AJ pulls it together. He has a lot of talent. Yeah, I mean, that's pretty much my breakdown of this game. Vanderbilt doesn't line up good on the outside. Obviously, our corners suck.
Bad.
Hopefully Vanderbilt can throw the ball around. I mean, obviously that's just going to what I'm leaning on. We have Will Shepard and Quincy Skinner, Jaden McGowan. If Joey Lynch ever develops a brain, and maybe could get out of Vanderbilt's Children's Hospital, then we might be able to stay competitive in football games. Until then, he can continue to be at the intelligent level of my high school math coach, or high school math teacher who was also a coach, which is just downright sad. Vanderbilt loses this game. 31-14, something like that. If I was predicting 38-14, something no more than that. That would be the most points you see in this game scored are 52. Vanderbilt's hit the over in every game. They will not hit the over in this game. And they will cover the spread in this game. There's my two takes from this game that matter. Okay. Another reason I wanted to have the sunglasses on is because this pod is strictly business, and I'm here to give you the real takes, and I'm also here to give you the best betting advice possible.
Let's do it. Last week, I was a embarrassing 2 for 5.
Me too.
I'm sorry. I'm putting my money forth towards this as well. So don't act like I'm just swindling you. I'm also hurting from this. But I'm at 2 for 5, so I'm 11 for 25 on the year.
I also went 2 for 5. That made me 17 of 25 for the year. So I'm sitting at a 68% hit rate, which I will definitely take. I love this week's slate of games. Loved them. I love the lines. I love the overs in certain games. I love the unders in other games. This week to me is I already have 7 bets placed, 7 different parlays. This week is the get up week. If you need bets and you don't like the ones I give on here, text me or something, or DM me on Instagram or something. I will give you some bets that I think I'm pretty sure we're cashing. Brett, you want me to go first? You want to give yours?
I want to get mine.
Yeah, go ahead,
I want
brother.
to get mine into the universe. In the Red River Shootout, Texas at Oklahoma, I like the over in that game. It seems like it always goes over. Over 60.5. Texas at Oklahoma in Dallas. Next game here, Maryland, 5-0 Maryland at Ohio State. They're giving them 19.5 points against an Ohio State team that hasn't looked completely impressive. They're kind of like Michigan. You think they're good, but you're not really going to know until week 10, 11, or 12. So I like Maryland and the points. Another team that I need to see something from, Kentucky. They're getting 14.5 points at Georgia. I believe it's a night game at Georgia. It's going to be a tough game, but 14.5 points against a Georgia team that hasn't been as dominant as we thought they would be. I'll take Kentucky plus 14.5. I'm riding with Arkansas again this week against Ole Miss. Don't ask me why. I just think that Ole Miss and Lane Kiffin could slip up in this game, but they're giving Arkansas 11.5. So I'll take Arkansas plus the 11.5 points. And then this last game, maybe my favorite, Missouri plus 6.5 at home against LSU. With how Brady Cook's playing, LSU had a tough, emotionally draining loss on Saturday against Ole Miss. I like Missouri and 6.5 points at home.
Yeah, I also that will not be my bets, but it was going to be at the end there, and I will put another team with them. But if you're going to bet on Missouri, bet money line. I think they win that game. So bet money line if you're going to bet there. In my opinion. Here's my 5. First game, I'm also betting on the Texas-Oklahoma game. Give me Texas minus the 2.5. I think if you can get in under that field goal, you're golden. That was an early Sunday morning. That line is moved all the way to 5.5. So if you do want to get that line, you will have to go alternate spread. Once again, I wish I could get them live, but we can't. So I'm sorry. Next game, I've got Oregon State in California. Over 48.5. California, watched them play Auburn. Their defense wasn't that good. Oregon State's been high scoring so far. I think they'll probably give you 38 points or so. California will just have to do a little bit of work. Next game, I've got Washington State at UCLA. UCLA has pretty much fallen off the map at this point. They let me down 2 weeks ago. So I'm going with Washington State plus 7.5. There are the first three out of the way. I've got a little 2-pick same game parlay in here with it. On DraftKings, you can get an odds boost for this SGPX, which is the same game parlay with some other games. So on this, under 57.5 in the Vanderbilt and Florida game. Like I said, I think the most points that are scored here are 52. I really like the under. And then Vanderbilt plus 24. You do have to alternate spread that. That is me being very, very safe because we're already going to have a relatively high overall parlay. Put $20 on it, win 168. So your numbers are great. Go in there, get those 5. That parlay sitting at plus 620. Great odds for a little parlay.
I like the alternate spreads.
What'd you say?
I don't like the alternate spread, but that's okay.
I'll take Vanderbilt plus the 20 if you want me to.
No, it is written in stone in my orange folder.
Yeah. I was going to say though,
in the drawer.
two things that I wanted to hit on about betting this week. One is here's someone to bet on. Here's some guys just money line picks because I said this was the week. So the locksmith's going to get in his bag real quick. Here's some money line picks. Just go take them. Colorado money line. Ole Miss money line. Fresno State money line. Oregon State money line. And Kentucky plus the 14.5. Take those two. I think if you do that, or if you want to get real, put your nuts on the table, take Kentucky money line, and you're going to win all kinds of money. I have that same parlay, but plus Kentucky 14.5. But if you bet Kentucky or Missouri money line in there with it, I would 100% agree with you. I have those, but just in different single bets because I don't want to rely on anything else if I hit them.
Yeah, I actually finished in the positive this week outside of my parlay that I put on here. Tennessee lulled Vegas to sleep, and they let us have the first quarter over 13.5, which was free money all year last year. Finally got it this year to hit. I hit a little parlay, same game parlay in the Tennessee game. So I'm just trying to mislead the people, honestly, and make money myself.
Yeah, last weekend I had a great week. I won $58 on an NFL parlay. I put $5 on. I won another 86 on the one I put $10 on. I won 175 on a 3-game parlay in the NFL. I won 2 different 5-pick parlays. So last week I was up just a little over $600 last weekend. So last weekend was a pretty good weekend for the locksmith. Not to
listen
flex.
in, take advantage.
Not to flex. Listen, this podcast, why would you not listen? We're at least funny. Right now, I'm really down bad. I'm strictly business. But listen, I'm making your bank accounts bigger. We went 5 for 5 last week. What do you want or I guess now 2 weeks ago. What do you want from me?
Yeah, we're making big moves here. We're smart.
That's right. Hey, listen,
We're
it's
smart.
episode 100. Thank you all so much. Remember to follow us on Twitter, Instagram. Y'all know what it is. Help us out. Rate us. Give us 5 stars. Leave us a review on Apple iTunes, not iTunes, Apple Podcasts. Sorry, whatever it's called.
Spotify.
You know what it is. It's been
Goodbye.
Joseph West. Anchor down.
Go Vols. Goodbye.